Hi. I guess I'm live. I think we're ready. Does this mean we're ready to start? I still have a countdown from 1:39, 1:40. I don't want to start before everybody's here, but it looks like we're ready to go. So welcome. I'm Patricia. I'm the Juneberry Choral Program Coordinator at the Upper Valley Music Center. And you're presumably here because you're curious about this Modal Muscle class. It's a project-based online opportunity that will create a community of learners around gaining fluency in the modes. It starts October 16th. It runs 16 weeks until the end of February, spending 2 weeks in depth on each mode. Lots more details are available on the website description at uvmusic.org, and we'll put links in the chats and comments for that. And you may still have other questions. So joining me today are 5 individuals who have expressed interest and curiosity about this class, and they're bringing the tough questions as they sort out whether or not it's the right thing for them to do. As they come on screen, I've asked them each to introduce themselves and ask a question and possibly a follow-up. And then when they're all here with us, we'll open up the floor to your questions, and which I hope you'll be putting in the chat so that we can be sure they all get addressed. Many thanks to Erin Smith of the Upper Valley Music Center, who is coordinating this and making it all work. And I'd like to invite Maria Wood into the room to start this off. Hi, Maria.
Hi, good to see you. Good to be here. I'm calling from Ireland. So my question is, first of all, I was immediately intrigued in your course because you're running it. And I thought, well, this has to be good. But I have no idea about modes, and it seems intimidating modes. They seem a bit mysterious. So I'm wondering, why do I need to learn about modes? What are they going to do for me if I'm trying to write a few songs or do a bit of song leading? So I'm curious, definitely, to see what are they going to open up for me.
It's such a good question. Yeah, so just modes are just a way of getting from one note do to a note an octave away. Do, do, let's go a whole octave. Do, do. And there are lots of different ways of doing that motion. I can quickly play a couple on the piano. You could do this, which sounds probably pretty familiar. You could do this, which also might sound fairly familiar. You could do this. Sounds a little funkier, or maybe this. So what I love about the modes is that they open up my ears to kind of different sound worlds, they give me access to creating music in a different sound world. They also are sort of sneaky ear training. When you're practicing and you're playing with this, you're actually training your ear and your voice to get ever more accurate in how it hears. And I think for myself as a song leader and as a singer, that's a real benefit. And it's some serious choral nerd cred for people who sing in choirs. If you can recognize these modes and you can spell them and say them, you've got serious nerd cred. So I think those are all good reasons, but everybody will have their own answer.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks. I like the idea, I suppose, of being able to understand what they are and just training the ear. So you're sort of talking about being more accurate in your musicality. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people ask about the equipment or the tech they'll need to have to participate. And I think you will need a computer that has a larger screen for doing Zoom, an ordinary laptop. I mean, as opposed to doing it on your phone where you've got just a tiny thing. I think for the Zoom classes, people will want to be on a computer. And from there, the rest is optional. People may need a phone or a recorder or a camera, depending on what kinds of projects you choose to do. And you'll be uploading assignments to the cloud. So it doesn't matter whether you're in Ireland or Vancouver or Hawaii or New England, you'll be able to share with the group of musicians that you're working with. And you'll be with this small comment crew of people every.
And can I just add on to the question of like, if I feel like the modes are a bit of a mystery,
Yeah.
is that a deterrent to me to think, or will it just be opened up as I do the course?
It will absolutely be opened up. One of the things that I see as my job is to explain the fundamentals of each mode. So you'll understand how to create them. You'll understand how to figure out what the mode is and how that sound world gets formed. And I will walk you through that. That's why there's the Zoom class as well as the project time.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds brilliant.
Okay, great. So I'd like to invite Kathy Baker in to join us. Hi, Kathy. Oh, I can't hear you.
Hello, Patricia. Hello, Maria. Great to be here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Kathy Baker, and I'm coming to you from Victoria on Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada. And I'm one of the co-directors of the Gettin' Higher choir out here. And I'm familiar with some of the modes more because of the kind of mood shift that I experience, certainly between major and minor kind of keys. But another arranger and the former director of the choir, Dennis Donnelly, I've recognized some of the songs that he has arranged or he has written that are in, say, Dorian mode or like in Mixolydian mode, but I've kind of retrofitted that. So it's I'm curious about them, and I love the fact that it opens up a new world. And I love, I guess, in the previous conversation you just had with Maria, the idea about music nerd cred. I probably have a little nerd in me, so that's exciting. And this is a question that Susie asked, but it's definitely one that I would ask myself also of you. And that is, can you tell us a little bit more about the kinds of project possibilities and maybe an example of each type of project that we might be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So so there are 2 weeks on each mode. And during those 2 weeks, you'll be with a little comment crew group, a group of 3 people, maybe 4 people who are supporting each other and giving each other feedback and kind of working through this together. And the projects there are 5 different projects for each mode. And you'll choose the number and which ones appeal to you. There's a fundamentals project where you learn how to create the mode and how to recognize it when you hear it. There's a listening project where I've got a set of songs, music that you can listen to in the mode. And you'll want to you'll listen to it, you'll let it soak in, and then respond to it in whatever way you feel drawn to respond to it. Maybe cooking, maybe photography, painting, whatever you're drawn to respond to that, hearing that mode. There'll be a song learning project where you can learn an existing song that's in that mode. And I will give you a list of songs, and I'll give you sheet music if you want sheet music or recordings so that you can practice the song and just sing the song and choose one that appeals to you. And so then you're practicing working in that mode. There'll be, and then you can choose whether or not to record yourself singing it and put it up so that your comment crew can hear, to give yourself a little bit of accountability, or you can decide not. You can decide you just want to hold that for yourself. There's a composing project, which I think is pretty self-explanatory, except to say that after you compose your piece or write your piece, be encouraging you to shape it in a form that you can share it with other musicians, either through a recording or a lead sheet or a score, a fully realized score, whatever way you communicate your music. And then finally, one that I'm really excited about is improvising. And I'm really excited about this because I contacted 7 different people, amazing musicians who are doing looping, creating looping beds, and they made 2 different looping beds for each of the modes for us. So I'm going to play you one, if I could, so that you have the option of singing over a drone, and I'm supplying cello drones and piano drones and voice drones. So you can certainly do that and use that for improvising. But if you want to, there are these vocal beds of 3 to 4 minutes. And so here's an example of one. This is Laurel Murphy in Dorian mode.
That is so cool. Wow.
I
Love
am
it.
really excited about it.
That is cool. And another question, if this is a question that Tammy asked, but also wondering, is it okay to bring in another instrument? Tammy's learning and studying more guitar. I would also say ukulele or piano, or is it supposed to be just voice, or can we weave in other instruments in these projects?
Yeah, what an exciting question. You can absolutely weave in other instruments in this project. And one of the things, as people are taking their own next steps, somebody might want to work just with voice and a drone and exploring the melodic shaping that you can do with modes. And somebody else might be really intrigued by what kind of chord progressions put you into a certain mode and what those chord progressions are like. And that could be a really exciting thing to explore. So that's what I like about the project design of the course, is that you can bring in what's interesting to you and what your next step is.
Wow. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Wow, it sounds very exciting. Yeah, great. Yeah.
I am super excited about it.
Yeah.
I'd like to invite Joy Truskowski to join us now.
Hello. Hi, Patricia.
Hi, Joy.
Hi, Maria, Kathy. I'm in Roanoke, Virginia, and I'm excited about this class because I've been exploring improvisational singing and leading a circle singing group in my area. And I want to explore the modes because I have more possibilities for different sounds I can come up with, more interesting things that I can do to lead people in song. But I've heard of them, and some of them are a little familiar to me. So I just want to learn. I just want to be a nerd and know about all of them and have all of the
This may end up being a class for nerds, period.
Yeah. I mean, I'm already a nerd, but I want to be a bigger nerd.
Yeah. We can do that for you.
Awesome. I have a question, which is that I'm super busy. My schedule is really, really full. So I was wondering, how much time do we need for outside class homework?
Right. So on top of the hour, there's an hour and a half class each week. And then the time, of course, is going to be individual. I'm imagining sort of an average to shoot for would be, say, 10 or 15 minutes a day where you're listening and practicing the fundamental of the mode, because repetition is where that will kind of settle into your body. And then maybe some chunks of time each week, an hour, 2 hours, when you can work on your project, and maybe 20 minutes where you can give feedback to other people in your comment crew, because there'll be 1 or 2 feedbacks that you want to be able to give, reactions, responses. So that's kind of, I'm imagining that's kind of the baseline. And then because life is the way that it works, there are going to be some weeks when you're putting in, maybe you can only do the fundamentals project and you don't have a chunk of time to work on your project, even though you would love to. Sometimes that's the way life works. But also there might be times when you're like, I so love this mode and I'm getting so much energy from doing this that I'm just going to put everything else aside, and I'm spending 10 hours doing every single one of the projects in this mode because it's feeding me and I love it and I'm so excited by it. So it's variable. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. I mean, I also noticed Glenn Pollen is here. Hi, Glenn. He asked a
Glenn?
question that's related to my question. So, like, how often are the projects? Are they every week or every 2 weeks?
Yep, they're every 2 weeks. You can do, so we look at one mode for 2 weeks. Suppose there are 5 project options. Suppose you've decided you want to do 3 projects. You want to do the fundamentals, which I would expect sort of everybody does. And then you want to do the listening project, and then you want to compose something. So maybe for yourself, you'll carry the fundamentals project through both weeks. Maybe you'll do the listening project the first week, or maybe the first 4 days, and you'll listen to as much as you want to. And then maybe you'll spend the next 8, 9, 10 days composing a piece.
And that's for each mode. So that
for each mode.
There's a listening and then fundamentals and a composing piece.
Maybe that's how you choose, or maybe you choose to do fundamentals and improvisation. So you do the fundamentals and then you spend all 2 weeks doing improvisation.
Oh, that's really flexible.
It's
cool.
very flexible. Exactly.
I like that. And then one more question. I'm like kind of intimidated about the cost because I got a limited income. So, what can you say about that?
I think that's true for a lot of song leaders right now too, especially, our incomes all took a hit. So first, I'd like to say 2 things. First, it looks like a big cost because it's a 16-week class, but it's $20 an hour for the in-class time, for the online time. So it's not actually as steep as it looks when you first look at the whole cost price. And second, UVM's, one of the reasons that I'm offering this through UVMC is because UVMC has tuition assistance. We as faculty on UVMC fundraise every year to make sure that there is money available for people who have visions of music making and dreams of what they want to do, but may not have the resources, financial resources, to make it a reality right now. And I encourage you to apply for it. It's confidential. You having financial assistance doesn't take it away from anybody else. There's not only so many people per class who can have the assistance. I won't know who receives assistance. None of your classmates will know. And I don't want anybody to be stopped making music because of the price tag. That's really important. I'm glad you asked.
Me too.
Yes. Okay. Is that good? You feel?
Yeah. That's good for me. Yeah.
All right. I'd like to invite Jay Carey in next.
Hi, Patricia.
Hi, Jay.
So I'm calling from Lyme, New Hampshire, which is just across the river from you, the Little River. And the reason I'm interested in, I really picked up singing again in the past couple of years before the pandemic. And then the pandemic happened and I needed to stop, but I really need some kind of way to continue the progress that I've been making. I'm not a trained singer. I've only sung choral music and with only the basics of training. And I'm wondering if this class would be suitable for me. It seems like a bit of a jump for me. So.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jay. And I'm so glad you're singing. It makes me very happy.
Yeah.
So it depends a lot on how curious you are about singing and music and what feels like a good next step for you. Working with these modal fundamentals really will be a huge advantage to you as a choral singer because of how it helps you fine-tune your hearing and practice that vocal accuracy. Practice finding those sounds, and some of those sounds are less expected. And so you'd be moving your voice in these ways, which then helps when you run into it in a choral piece later in another group or maybe concurrently. And you can design the projects that feel within reach and that use your current skill set and feel like okay, this is a good next step. And I'm available for helping you, helping give you feedback to, okay, oh, wow, that's what you want to do. That's a big challenging project. What if you shaped it this way? I'm here to help you design those projects to keep them satisfying. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. I've never been a soloist, so I wonder, is this a big jump into solo singing for me?
Yeah, I'm not a soloist either. So there we are. So you will be singing by yourself at home. And so in that sense, it is kind of a solo singing, but I think of it as time with my own voice, exploring sound, not as solo singing. You don't have to be singing solo for the sake of virtuosity or showing off to somebody. You're singing alone because your voice is your tool. And it's the tool that you're using to explore these sounds.
Right.
Does that make sense? So you're singing alone, but it's not necessarily developing solo singing.
Right.
The other thing is that you may choose in each project, you might choose to work it completely alone, or you might choose to form a project posse of people that are doing it with you. So maybe you figure out how to sing together in some way. If you're local, maybe you get together masked, distanced outside and practice. So in those ways, you can explore beyond the idea of solo singing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And listening with care, that kind of listening always helps the sort of basic singing skills vocal skills that we're trying to acquire. But the class is not designed to tackle them specifically. So I won't be giving vocal coaching specifically, for example.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. We're good. All right. So I'd like to invite our final questioner, Beth Lyons. I expect she'll shake the whole thing up. Oh, because she's muted.
Last but not least.
Absolutely never least.
So my name is Beth Lyons. I'm calling from Tacoma Park, Maryland. And I'm interested in this class because, firstly, because you're an awesome teacher. Like I've done a bunch of things. And I studied music theory in college decades ago. I won't say how many decades. And so the names are familiar, but it did not stick. And I'm a choir director, and I have a vocal improvisational band with some other really amazing singers. And I don't recognize when they're singing modes. It's like, so I'm super excited about it. But timing is a thing. So it's on both Saturdays and Mondays. Is it like pocket songs we get to do both? Or is it how's that timing work? Do you pick a day?
Right. You pick a day with this. Okay. I'm offering it both Saturdays and Mondays. And at a time at which I was hoping would be available to people in Europe and available to people on the West Coast. That's why it's midday for East Coasters. And but the reason to be on one specific day is that we'll be really forming a group, and the group will be connecting. And a lot of the work that we'll be doing during the class time, you'll be sent out with groups of people that you get to know really well over the course of this term. And I think connecting with a maximum of 24 people is reasonable. And I don't think that you build those kinds of in-depth connections with 48 people who are sometimes there and sometimes not. So consistency of day is going to be important.
Okay. Are there makeup days? Or I see in the comments, Jody and Glenn are asking about recordings. How does that work if you're not able to be in the class that you signed up for on that day?
Yeah, absolutely. So there will be a recording made, a Zoom recording made, and it will be available to class members. During the class, part of the time will be in breakout rooms, and that doesn't get recorded. So there is that kind of downside to doing it as recordings. I wouldn't recommend that you come on the other day because won't be able to put you with your group.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I could be, I'm not completely convinced about that. If somebody said to me, I really would rather come on Monday, I usually come on Saturday. I'd really rather come on Monday than watch it on video. I'd rather be there live with people. If Monday's class is at 24 people, then no, it wouldn't work because I don't want to go beyond a single Zoom screen. If Monday's class is 10 people, I might consider it. I would have to think about the dynamics of adding another person and how will that work with the class itself, feeling connected to each other and adding a person. So I haven't quite made that a final decision yet, if that makes sense.
Got it. But it sounds like based on what you're doing, if you come to one of the other classes, you'd either be with a breakout group of like other drop-in weird
Yeah.
people who might not be there, or you're dropping in on somebody on a group that's already formed.
Right.
And all musicians are lovely, but
All musicians are lovely, but I really want these comment crews that we're forming to have a chance to create an in-depth relationship, trusting relationship with each other. And every time you spend time welcoming somebody else in, it just takes time.
so we get to choose our comment crew name and design logos and t-shirts, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm expecting it every 2 weeks. I want to see a comment crew logo from Beth.
Don't give me a challenge like that.
And we will share them in the group. Great. Thank you, Beth.
I noticed Glenn asked about what kinds of activities you have planned for the class. So can you talk more about, like, specifically during the class, what will we be doing?
Yeah. So I have learned some new Zoom tactics, which really excite me. I've learned that you can annotate something that I put up on the screen. You, the class members, can annotate something that I put up on the screen. To start each mode, I'll be putting up a visual of all of the different ways that you can understand that the mode is created. And I'm going to be asking you to annotate it by putting a question mark or a star or a heart to indicate to me which makes sense to you, which makes no sense whatsoever, which is like, oh yes, this is home for me. I love, show me a piece of sheet music and I'm there with you, or whatever else, happens to be working for you. And then taking that information, I will be guiding you through understanding how the mode is created. That's one sort of project that we'll be doing, sort of building the fundamentals so that you can work the fundamentals and really, really have that function for you. Another project that we'll be doing during class time is connecting with the emotional resonance of the mode. And of course, that's going to be different for every person, how that mode sits in you. And it might be different from day to day. But we will do a guided meditation that I will lead you through with that mode as your sound backdrop. And we'll do a meditation that goes into letting yourself settle into the mode and discovering what sounds it might have for you and your voice. And it's a guided meditation, a little bit like a shamanistic journey, but without any religious overtones. It's just a question of really being able to feel inside you how this music affects you. That's another kind of thing we'll be doing in the class. We'll also be, I'll give guidance, of course, as to how to share your projects as you finish them, and how to share your comments and how to comment on other people's projects. We'll also be pulling up people's projects, people who volunteer to be pulled up, to kind of highlight and get a chance to listen. And we'll be going into breakouts to work with those looping beds for people who enjoy improvising over a looping bed, to try doing it in front of other people, because then all of a sudden you've got the layer of, oh, this makes me a little nervous now. I'm singing in front of other people. Am I still going to be able to find the mode? And then, oh, now I'm singing in front of the whole class instead of just my comment crew. Am I still going to be able to find my way in it? And it's a very safe place to do it, because everybody else is going to be like, yes, go for it. And, oh, well, you missed it. Fine. Next time. Don't worry about it. But it's a chance to add that level of that, at least for me, stops my brain from functioning. So I get to know whether or not that mode is really working for me.
That makes me think of Jody asked a question earlier. Hi, Jody. About, so that sounds like we need a knowledge of basic music theory to take this class. Do we need a knowledge of basic music theory?
It would be helpful if you could find a C on the piano, on a keyboard. That would make it quicker for you, right? So if you call that music theory, it would be useful. But other than that, I will be covering what you need to know for that. I'll be covering it relatively quickly, but I will also be giving you resources that you can use if you need to kind of bolster that up, including resources from different perspectives, people who explain it different ways. I also, does that answer the question, do you think?
Yeah, it does for me. Are you going to skip the regular major scale since it's already familiar to so many of us?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am not. I'm not going to do it first. We're going to do the 3 modes that are built on a minor triad first. So we'll do Aeolian, Dorian, and Phrygian. And then we will do Ionian major. And coming to it from that perspective, I'll be encouraging you to consider what makes it special. What makes that major scale special? What are the notes in the major scale that you don't get in other places? And how can you, maybe when you're improvising, and I'm going to use some music theory terms here right now, but they would all be explained in the course of the class. You might want to use the 7th degree in the major scale. That's a really special note in a major scale. And the 2nd degree of a major scale is a special note, and the 4th degree. So all of those different places in a major scale are special places to go to. So you might use that time on the major scale with exploring how you hear it. We'll also be looking pretty closely on, does a major scale have to be positive? If you're working in the Ionian mode, does that mean everything's happy and bippy? I'd like to point out that taps is major, for example. Or Ionian. Could be considered Ionian. Yeah.
I have a question actually. Are you going to be focusing on sort of trying to feel the scale, the different modes in your body almost, as much as, you mentioned the 4th degree and the 7th degree. Will there be a balance between the sort of logical knowing and the feeling? You kind of mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. I think those are both equally important. And some people will be using more of one than the other, and that's absolutely fine. And I also think, Beth was saying that she studied them in college, but it didn't stick. And I think that's true for a lot of people who have had music theory at some point, but it didn't stay. And I think one of the reasons it doesn't stay is because it's not in the body. and it's not something you've come to by feeling that resonance inside yourself. And so we will do a lot of work with drones, with solid pitches, and hearing how these scales relate to that one pitch.
I saw that Glenn mentioned that Saturdays runs into my online circle and also Roy's online circle, which starts at 1, and that it'll be hard to go to both of those things back to back. So speaking for my circle, I will probably wind up starting my circle later so that I can do both things. So that means, Glenn, you can too, if that's helpful at all.
And I would also say, if you haven't done something with me before, I tend to be very punctual. I don't like things to run over. I don't like things to start late. So I tend to be kind of, that's just how I roll. So if I say that it's going to end at 1, it really will end at 1. And absolutely go to Joy's and Roy's circles because they are both amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that one of the hats that I wear is as a choir director. And I kind of love the idea of bringing these to people in a way that isn't freaking people out. And really like being able to get it in my head and feel. Yeah, honestly, I'm thinking I'm just going to get the learning from you and then bring it to my people.
So one of the things that I love about this is that it's just, for me, myself, as a choir leader and a song leader, as I've been working, because I started this class because I was not able to recognize a mode and say, ooh, that's the mode that is. I'm like, okay, that's something I want to learn. And as I've been working with it over the past several months, really intensely, I love finding music that I didn't realize was Mixolydian and is Mixolydian or Dorian or whatever, and realizing that, oh yeah, that's why that's so attractive to me and sounds so different. And being able to feel it start to settle in my body makes it so much easier to teach it and share it. And, I taught a song by Elise Witt in Pocket Songs that was not as straight. It was a Mixolydian song in mixed meter, not what you'd consider a straightforward, quick learn kind of song. But people got it. I think they got it pretty quickly. And I think it's because I'd done all this modal work so that it felt comfortable to me. It felt like I didn't feel like I was stretching to do it. I felt like this is how this song should sound. And that's one of the reasons that one of the projects is a singing project, singing a song that already exists, because I really think one of the best things you can do is start to own songs, music that is in that mode.
Yay.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that I suppose I've been thinking about your course as somebody who wants to write more songs or whatever, but it's not necessarily for that. You're kind of saying just for using music that's already created, you just have a deeper understanding of it or a comfort, is it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that comes down to how you choose to shape the course for you. Whether you choose to focus on listening and song learning projects, or whether you choose to focus on composition and improvisation is totally up to you. There's no requirement that you do any one of those particular projects for any of the modes, just the fundamentals.
Does the small group, like, because I think I remember you telling me there's small group projects and then like individual projects. Does the small group decide on the project together? And do you have a choice? Like, is it required to do group projects and individual projects, or do you choose one or the other?
Great
How does that
questions.
work?
Yeah, great questions. So there are two different kinds of group options in this course. There's the comment crew group, which you will be assigned to randomly. And I'm delighted my daughter is creating a computer program that will make it work so that you get to be with all the different singers in the course of the course. You get to spend time with everybody. And it's randomized. And that group will be your group for 2 weeks as you dive into a mode. And then you go to a new comment crew. But you respond to your Dorian comment crew, whatever their name and their t-shirts and their logos are. That group, you respond to everybody's project in that group, and they help you, and they're your people to turn to when, like, okay, I know I need to work on this, but I'm really, my brain has gone blank. Help. Somebody give me something positive. Help me get into this, or whatever kind of support you need. That's your crew for that 2 weeks. Then there's the separate question of creating a project posse, which you would do under your own steam by inviting people. They don't have to be in your comment crew group. It can be whatever group of people you're intrigued to work with. You would privately message them and say, hey, want to make some music with me? And we would recognize that sometimes that could work. And sometimes somebody's going to say, yeah, you know what? I already decided I'm going to work individually on this project, and I don't have bandwidth to do an extra project, much as I would love to work with you. But sometimes it'll be sweet and you'll both have time and bandwidth, or you'll have 6 people who want to all compose something together, and you'll send it around to each other and everybody will add something. Or you'll all do a listening project together, and you'll all bake in response to the listening project and compare recipes. I think this is what makes this a Dorian cake. I don't know why I'm into the baking today, but I really am. I'm really hoping, I'm hopeful that somebody mails me cookies after this. No. So 2 different styles of groups. And that way you can decide. One of the things I learned from doing Zoom classes myself over the last couple of years, and I actually did distance learning before the pandemic. So I've been at this for a while and observing what works and what doesn't work. And I think having the option to work with other people, but not the requirement, is useful. Because sometimes you want to work with other people and sometimes you really don't. And I want there to be space for both of those kinds of feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And Jody, I see your question. And yes, the comment crew changes every 2 weeks. And it's a group of just 3 people, possibly 4 people, depending how the numbers work.
I also see that Glenn is asking, will we see the posted work from other comment groups or only our own?
You will see the posted work from all of the groups, but your comment group is the only group that you're asked to give feedback to. You're welcome to give feedback to other posted projects if the person in their project posting has said, yes, I welcome all feedback. Some people might say, yeah, just my comment crew. Or maybe they say that for the first couple of comments until they get to know more and more people in the class. And maybe by 8 weeks in, they're like, okay, yeah, you can all bring it in. That's fine. I want you to have control over how much feedback you get. I myself will be giving feedback to 12 people a week. So if there are 20 total for both classes. So if there are 24 people in both classes, which I don't anticipate happening, but could happen, then I would be giving feedback once a month, personal feedback. And I give really detailed, thoughtful feedback. It takes me quite a while, which is why I've limited it to 12 each week. If we end up with only 1 class running and there are 10 people, you'll be getting feedback from me every week, every time you checked up. It's kind of a roll of the dice. but if there are if there are lots of people and you're getting less feedback from me, you're also getting to meet more people and you're getting to engage and hear other people's reactions, which I think is just as valuable.
So can I ask another question about money? We talked about
Yeah.
scholarships. Is there an option to space payments out, like pay
Yeah.
over a couple months?
Yeah, I think there is, absolutely. And you can talk directly by emailing info@uvmusic.org, and we'll put that in the comments or the chat. Maybe Erin will stick it in. Joni Cushman is our registrar, and she will work with you to make that possible.
Awesome, because over 16 weeks, like that. You're right. That changes the set size.
Yeah, the big number.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
really helpful.
Absolutely.
I've got a question. Just
Yeah.
kind of related to this question, but just if there was one thing, this is a hard question now, but if there was one thing that you'd like people to achieve at the end, where would you like people to be after the 16 weeks, which obviously is going to be personal, but would there be something, a core thing for you?
Yeah. I'd like people to be not intimidated by the modes, super comfortable with the modes. I'd like them to feel like you've gotten to a next step with these modes. And I'd like you to have connection with other song leaders, learners, singers, listeners. I'd like you to have made some new friends.
Lovely.
I just want to give props to Patricia, because I've been taking pocket songs with you, Patricia, and one reason I want to take this course is because, like Beth said, you're such a fabulous teacher, and also you're so gentle and generous with giving feedback. It's like I'm not afraid of what you might say or criticize in me. I feel like I'm taking a class. Well, I am taking a class with my friend, but like you're just very warm and inviting and engaging, and I'm really
you.
excited to take this class for that reason.
Thank you. That is really lovely. Really lovely. So if you don't know me yet.
I think one thing that's got me interested is because I know whatever it is you'll do, you're going to come at it in your own way and try and deconstruct it and reconstruct it. And I feel it's just automatically going to be easier because you've undertaken the construction of the course.
Yay, thanks for that vote of confidence. I like that. I like that. I have to say, it has been so much fun preparing this. It's been so much fun really taking apart and understanding where the modes come from and how they get created and why they make such different sound worlds. They're fascinating. They are fascinating, and the music that comes out of them is just it's extraordinary. But I also, so that has been wonderful, but I love thinking about what opens up learning for people and how people learn differently. Everybody learns, everybody's brain works, the way your brain and body function together. And and everybody can learn these stuff. There's no question about this. The question is, how do we find what clicks for you? How do we find your way in? And what is the next step for you? Doesn't matter where you are. And if you're super experienced and you're like, like Jody Albright, I know she's just like, she can do all of this, comfy super. Why would she want to come to this group? Well, when is she going to get the chance to have a structure that helps her expand? To my mind, the reason that I take classes often is because it gives me a structure that helps me pace my learning and it gives me a sense of being able to keep going. Especially, here we are all not knowing what's coming with the pandemic, not knowing what the strictures are going to be on each of us. I wanted to offer something that we could count on, that I could count on. That I could count on being here, that I could count on providing some structure and let me know that, okay, I'm going into this, but I'm going to be doing it with a group of people that I'm going to get really close to, and I'm going to be doing something that I love to do, making music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Patricia, for that, for all of it. I mean, I'm just in hearing these, the last comments and questions, realizing part of what I would want to get. Well, one, I've, having attended, pocket song sessions with you and the delightful experience of the Zoomberry chorus. Mm-hmm. I know that your style of leadership, your style of teaching and what you'll bring will deepen my own practice, and it will enrich what I'm then able to bring to other people that I work with. Absolutely. And it's bound to be, nourishing and fun and playful and accessible. And you invite us all beautifully into the brave space. So I want to be more like you when I grow up. Same.
I'm going to be more like you. More like
and in many ways, like more like myself. And what you will provide will I think really help enrich that, So this is just one of those, another Patricia Norton, deeply nourishing, rich opportunity. So anybody listening, sign up.
So next time I schedule something like this, I'm going to put that into our script. This was not in our script. I'm going to add that into our script. Everybody say really nice things about me now. This is the time. Because wow.
So
we're improvising.
Improvising. Beautiful improvisers.
It doesn't start for a while. What's the start date?
The start date is October 16th.
Cool. Okay.
October 16th is the Saturday and October 18th is the Monday. And I do have minimums to run. And so I'm hoping people will register soon so that we can just say, oh, yes, we know that it's running. That's settled. Otherwise, I'll just be carrying, I don't know if I'm going to do this or not. And so will everybody else who's registered. We won't know. I will send a note to everybody who's registered and I will put it on the website as soon as the class is running for sure.
Cool.
So that's up and available. That information is available.
So you're talking specifically to me. Waits till the night before to sign up.
You and Joy and I know I have people here who are
procrastinators.
Jay, do you have anything else to
I was going to say, what is the minimum?
So the minimum is set at 10 because I was thinking about how many people we need to have to be able to really rotate comment crews and hear from different people. I think financially, I don't think I can afford to run it with fewer than 7, I think was my, so this is secret, so you don't really know this, but I think 7 is really my secret minimum. But I'm really shooting for a minimum of 10 so that we have enough people to share, to rotate comment crews around and because, you might, not everybody's going to be your cup of tea. Or maybe they all will be. Wouldn't that be extraordinary? But it does happen. Kathy.
I want there to be, 24 in each group. If there are 5 that sign up on Saturday and 5 that sign up on Monday, does that give you your 10? You mean 10 altogether or 10 in each group?
I mean 10 in each group. So, so at that, if it looks like there's going to be a question, I will end up, I will contact people who have registered and say, looks like we're struggling to meet numbers. Are there any of you who could possibly do the other day? And look to see if we can get up to the numbers that way.
Gotcha.
Jody is asking, can you talk about the certificate?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a professional development certificate that we will give at the end of the class. to receive that certificate, because of course then we're actually saying you've done something that has developed you professionally. So there are minimum requirements for that. You need to have attended at least 12 of the 16 online class sessions. You need to have done the fundamentals for each mode, plus at least one project, one of the other 4 projects for each 2-week period. So for each 2-week period, you need to have completed a fundamentals, and you need to have shared a project, and you need to have given 3 feedbacks, 2 or 3 feedbacks, depends how many people are in your comment crew. But you need to have given feedback to the other people in your group. And then you can apply, you can just say, I'd like to receive a certificate at the end. I will be tracking all of that through the course, so you don't have to have made that decision before you start the course. If that's a decision that you can't make, and that you get to the end and you're like, hey, I did more than this than I thought. Can I possibly get a certificate? I will have been tracking this information for everybody all the way through. And you'll have a month after the course closes. You'll have a month after the course closes to complete any work, so that if I say to you, oh, you know what, you didn't get feedback in the Aeolian mode, you're missing a feedback, you'll have a month afterward to complete that work. Sorry,
and that's just an optional thing? You don't have to have the certificate to
not at all.
Just if you want to. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yep. And for some people, it makes a difference between being able to get a school to fund their taking the class, because they receive professional development hours for it. So you can get professional development money to take the class because of that.
Brilliant.
Cool.
I'm feeling we're coming to a close. Anybody want to say any last things?
Jody is asking for the website in the chat, so maybe.
Yep. And we'll make sure I think Erin has put it in the chat already. I think she'll add it. Mm-hmm. And we'll make sure that it's under the video. So if you're watching this video after the live stream is over, we'll put it in the comments or in the information under both the YouTube and the Facebook. And it will also be available online. Okay.
I can't wait to get started.
Me either. So as we close, I would like to thank Erin Smith, who aced all the tech stuff and did all the comment stuff and made this all run so smoothly. And I'd like to thank Beth and Maria and Kathy and Jay and Joy for coming. It was awesome to have you here. Thank you for bringing on the questions. Thank you for considering the class. I hope you all have the information that you need to make your choice. Don't hesitate to reach out to me at juneberry@uvmusic.org. And that, of course, will go in the chat and in the links and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Or to Joni Cushman, our registrar, if you have questions about how to pay for it, how to navigate that, or just to sign up, because wouldn't that be beautiful? Mm-hmm. I can't wait to start. Mm-hmm. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're done. Yay. Erin's going to take us out.
All right. Woo.